Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Thinking Tuesday. I am so excited to be here again. It's 12 noon on Tuesday, and you know it's time for Thinking Tuesday. So, for those of you who are viewing for the first time, welcome. Welcome. Glad you could join us. And for those of you who are here as regulars, thank you for returning. And for those who will be seeing it on my YouTube channel, thank you also for joining us. These messages are always stored on my YouTube channel, Thinking Tuesday, Cheryl Burton. So thank you so much for joining us. And just to remind you, those of you who are regulars, and for those of you who are coming for the first time, on Thinking Tuesday, we focus on our motto, which is Your mind is a garden, because it is. And your thoughts are the seeds, because they are. And you are the gardener. You can choose to grow flowers in your mind's garden, or you can choose to grow weeds in your mind's garden. And nobody that I know love weeds, even though some of them look beautiful, but weeds are weeds. And they just choke out some of those beautiful plants that we try to cultivate throughout the year and definitely through the summer, which we're really enjoying now. So think of your mind as a garden and think of your thoughts as the seeds in that garden. So on Thinking Tuesday, we gather here on this Facebook Live to do a mental checkup, to reflect on what we're thinking or what we have been thinking, what we are and what we have been thinking, and what impact does our thinking have on our lives? And more importantly, what new thinking are we willing to adopt to be more in control and to have a more positive effect on our lives? You know, when we do our cleaning, we throw out things that no longer serve us. So it's the same thing with our thinking. If the type of thinking that lead us to problems are still part of our lives, then we have to throw them out, find new ones, right? Just like changing your clothes. Changing your mind and the way that we think is one of the most empowering, I would say, and one of the most productive and one of the most creative ways that we can do as human beings. That's one of the most creative things that we can do as human beings, and empowering also. So sometimes we get stymied because we don't want to buck tradition, right? You've heard the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But let me suggest a new way of looking at that. If it ain't broke, break it and create a new one. Because sometimes it's worth fixing, even though it's old. It might have served you then, but it's not serving you now. So don't be afraid to create a new mold. Life is so much more enjoyable and creative and exhilarating, actually, when we can create new thinking. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to break it if it's not broken and to create a new one. I mean, creating a new thought, a new way of thinking, just that takes you forward and not backward or keeping you stuck, can really, really enhance your life. Like I said, it can be really, really exhilarating. You know, I like to try on and entertain new thinking, right? I like the Costco and the Sam's way of doing it. You know, you taste it first, and if you like it, you buy it. And even if you think you like it when you bought it, if later on you decide it's not working for you, it doesn't fit, then you take it back, right? So you don't have to hold on to something just because it's been part of your thinking for a long time, even for generations. You know, you don't have to hold on to thinking, because when we change our thoughts, we change our lives. And if we don't want our lives to be stagnant, then we have to inspect, we have to evaluate our thinking to see if it's growth producing, if it's taking us to where we say we want to go. Because many times we say we want to go places and we end up someplace else, you know. Our GPS gets stripped up because of the way we think, you know. So, you know, life can be so much more exciting when we entertain new and different ways of thinking, with the caveat, as long as it won't harm you or harm someone else. You know, new thinking can be very provocative, it can be very empowering, but we do have to watch our thinking so that it does not encroach upon others. It does not take advantage of others. If it doesn't, if it doesn't align with the kind of values that we ascribe to. So watch your thinking, but don't be afraid to change it. You don't have to stay there. You know, what do you think? What do you think is at the root of the new iPhones? I mean, it seems like every year there's a new iPhone, and everyone is clamoring to get the latest version of the iPhone. So, what do you think is behind all those new versions? It's new thinking. It's new thinking. You know, those phones, sometimes they're working perfectly, but people like innovative things. So think innovatively. Don't be afraid to change your thinking because you're buying them anyway. You're buying the products that have been reconditioned and repurposed, you know. So you're buying new thinking also. So why not? Why not be a new thinker also? These are the results of new thinking, and you'll never imagine how many iterations the new versions have gone through, the new versions of the iPhone have gone through before they get to the marketplace. So when you buy a new iPhone or anything new, you know, you're buying a remake of the or an upgrade of the old ones. And all of that is supported by new thinking. So it's the same thing with you. Remember last week I said that we should look at ourselves as project managers? So what doesn't work when you're creating a project or when you're trying to upgrade a project? You change it. So why not for you? Why not for me? That's what I try to do, you know? So, in the same way, I want to encourage you to keep an open mind about how and what you think, and take steps to change that thinking if it's not serving you in your growth, whether personally or professionally, because that's what life is all about. Living a life that is pleasing, pleasant, and that's going to bring us the type of things that allow us to enjoy our lives and to leave a legacy for our loved ones. You know, so it all starts with your thinking. You are the designer. I am the designer. We're all the designers of our lives. And as we change our thoughts, we change our lives, right? It's as simple as that. But I want to suggest some ways that could be helpful. I don't want to just tell you to change your thoughts because, yes, it takes practice to do that. You know, it takes practice to make new changes. So it's not going to be easy, but I want to make some suggestions about some ways that could be helpful as you try to change your thoughts and lessen the anxiety that sometimes comes with changing your thoughts or trying on new thoughts. Okay? Since our thoughts are a representation of who we are, because they are, you know, sometimes there's a vulnerability with changing our way of thinking or creating a new mindset. There's a vulnerability because our thoughts are representing who we are. And sometimes we're a little bit shy about, you know, just unveiling who we are. You know, it comes with the territory, but it doesn't mean that we have to run from it. So if we're generally known to think in a certain way by certain people, it might be very difficult sometimes to show that part of yourself because they know you. They have a script. There's a script that they follow. There's a script that you've been following about the way you think, how you present yourself. So when you try to change your thoughts, you know, and create a new mindset, yes, there's a feeling of vulnerability. All right. Uh, You might anticipate criticism, perhaps, or you might anticipate ridicule. Some people don't like when people make changes, they make fun of them. But that's their business, not yours. You might anticipate rejection, which no one really likes. So those feelings are real because people like consistency. They like to see us in the way that they have come to know us. It makes it easier for them. They don't have to make any changes. But when we make changes, it catches them by surprise. They now have to change the way they see us. And sometimes they're not willing to do that. Okay? So that might not work for them, but it's not their lives, it's yours. And you are the person that wants to make that change in your mindset. So focus on you and what you want. And you might just have to let go some of those people if they are not supportive of the positive change that you want to make. So if you have decided that you want to work on developing a new mindset, you might consider where you might begin to launch or showcase some of your new thinking. And where might that be? You might choose one person. You might choose one person who you know is supportive, who could give you constructive criticism if necessary, or you might share those thoughts in a small group of like-minded people, let's say, right? Some of them might question your thoughts, but don't be afraid to have your thoughts questioned as long as you have a justification for it and it's something that you believe in, right? They might ask constructive questions for you to think more into the development of this new thinking in a constructive way. So don't run from questioning, don't run from inquiry. It's there to help you grow, it's there to help you reflect. But you might also find some other challenges that don't come from outside. It might not be those people that are critical of you, that are going to ridicule you, okay, or reject you. Some of those thoughts might come from someone who you know very well. And guess who that is? That is you. When we're trying to change, many times we have a lot of doubts, especially in the beginning. We might feel um, we might have a strong conviction, but sometimes that conviction may be challenged by our old way of being. Change is not easy, and many times we prefer to retreat into comfort than to step out into discomfort. So be aware that some of the criticism might be coming from within. You know how it is when you try on something new. It doesn't always feel comfortable initially. It's like trying on shoes, you know? You buy a pair, you see a pair of shoes, they look lovely, you try them on. But then they don't feel quite as comfortable until you break them in. Okay? So, just like new thought patterns, as you're developing them, they might sound good, but they might not always feel good as you're practicing them, as you're sharing them, as people are questioning you, as you're trying to integrate it with other parts of your values and your self-concept and the life that you want to live. So, you know, try them on for size. Don't be too quick to throw them out because they're uncomfortable, but think of them as new shoes. Wear them, break them in until they feel better. If you have to make adjustments, you make adjustments. But the critical thing that I want to, or the message that I want to leave with you in this particular situation, is that the criticism is not always going to come from outside. In the case where you might be considering changing your thought patterns or your mindset, you might find that the old way of thinking, the old thought patterns that you've had, will try to break through and take over your newly developing thoughts and mindset. expect that. If you don't have it, fine. It's an easier walk. But if you do find that, then in that case, you might consider what I would call uh, pre-deciding some thoughts, pre-deciding some thoughts to counteract them. It's like going to war. You're not going to go to war without a plan. You want to win, right? Whether or not you know, your mind, our minds, are prime real estate where battles are fought for space every single day, every minute of the day. So by pre-deciding your thoughts, you're preparing yourself to stand your ground to counteract those old beliefs, those old thoughts that might be trying to push through. That those are weeds now. You know, you're trying to grow flowers, right? And those thoughts you don't want to keep because they've kept you stuck, and they've also kept you from growing to your potential. They've kept you living below your potential, let's say. So they might try to re-emerge as you're trying to develop new thoughts, new ways of thinking. It reminds me about some years ago, several years ago actually, when I was offering counseling in a clinic for recovering alcoholics. And anyone who is going through recovery knows that that's a very difficult place to be, but you can be successful at it. People have stopped drinking for many, many, many years, you know. But I remember in those situations, we spent many, many, many sessions discussing the developing thoughts and supporting their new ways of thinking, because they could not remain sober. They could not have a positive recovery. In fact, they could not even be fully recovered if they did not change their way of thinking. Putting down the bottle, as difficult as that might have been in comparison to developing new ways of thinking, was a breeze, I would say. Sometimes that's easier than developing the new thinking to sustain that new lifestyle that the alcoholic, for instance, or anyone else who has had some kind of addiction or have some, you know, continuous chronic behaviors that have not served them well. The new thinking is the new battleground. So we spent many sessions helping them to develop new thinking and to support their new thinking, how they would defend their new thinking, you know, what predetermined statements. They wrote predetermined statements that they would memorize and have at the ready. Have at the ready when others with whom they used to hang out start to ridicule them, question them. You know, they don't want to lose their drinking buddies, so they're going to give you a hard time. They're going to test you. So we worked with them on having some pre-decided thoughts, some predetermined thoughts that they could just draw from and, you know, meet those challenging questions or statements from their previous buddies, if you call it that, you know. So that allowed them to really stay focused. Some of them joined AA, which is another way of having a supportive group with like-minded people, people who are living in recovery and want to maintain their recovery. The mind is the last thing that you begin to work with, and it's the most difficult thing. So come up with some statements that you have at your fingertips that you can just respond to when you get those challenging questions. If you've harbored negative, self-limited thinking then, for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that it has to continue. If other people are not supporting your new vision of your life and of yourself, then they got to go. Bye-bye. Adios. Hasta la vista. Hasta luego. But allow yourself to consider new thinking as you reflect on how your thinking may not have been serving you, or is not serving you in your growth, and try to reinforce, of course, reinforce the good thinking, the positive thinking that you already have. So we're going to continue to try to cultivate those flowers, the new thinking, the new budding thoughts, the new beliefs, the self-actualizing thoughts instead of self-limiting and self-defeating thoughts. That's what you want to try to develop, okay? Because those are going to reinforce your growth. And like I always say, I'm here to help. You can reach me through my website, drcherylburton.com, to have me help you walk through any of these challenges that you might find. You know, we all need help when we're starting a new path. Nobody grows alone. Nobody grows alone. We might need a coach, we might need a therapist, we might need a good friend, we might need a mentor to help us walk, the new path that we choose to walk. And if you found this to be of value, please share it. Share it with someone, as I always say, who you know could also benefit from this. Because when you find something of value, you want to share it with someone else, right? We don't want to hoard good information, even though I might be patting myself on the back. But no, it's true. When I find new information, good information, I want to share it. I want to share it. So previous messages are stored on my YouTube channel, Thinking Tuesday, Cheryl Burton. This one will be stored there as well if you want to rewatch it at some point, or you want to share it with someone. And remember, you can reach out to me for a confidential consultation, which is also complimentary. So reach out to me through my website, drcherylburton.com, and I'll be happy to help you get started on your way or point you in the right direction. If you know of someone who is in need of similar services, please refer them to my website, drcherylburton.com. If you have an event, or you know someone who's having an event, some organization where you are looking for a speaker, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to speak with you or to them about the audience that they're trying to reach and the theme that they would love to impart to them. So I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Enjoy your holiday for those of you who are stateside, and be good to yourself. And remember that you are the designer of your life, and you design your life by cultivating positive thoughts, changing your thoughts if they're not serving you, and also being good to yourself. Be good to yourself. You're worth it. You deserve it. I'll see you next Tuesday at noon for another Thinking Tuesday message. Take care and bye for now.